This video is about SHE entered the hospital lobby, and a millionaire held the elevator for her. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The chill of the autumn air clung to Lily Anderson's skin as she stepped into the bright, sterile lobby of St. Benedict's Hospital. The scent of disinfectant intermingled with the faint aroma of the coffee shop tucked in the corner. It was a bustling place, filled with the sounds of bustling nurses, beeping machines, and distant voices. But today, all Lily could focus on was the weight of her own thoughts. Her mind was a tempest as she navigated the marble floor, her heart heavy with worry. It had been 3 weeks since her mother had undergone surgery for a rare neurological condition, and each passing day felt like an eternity. She glanced at the digital clock hanging above the reception desk, its bright red numbers flickering in the overhead lights. 2:00 p.m. Time seemed to stretch and contract, a cruel tease in the face of her anxiety. Lily was dressed in a soft, cotton cardigan over a simple white blouse, her dark jeans slightly frayed at the hems. She had put effort into her appearance today, hoping to find some semblance of normalcy amidst the chaos of her life. But the worry lines on her forehead spoke of sleepless nights and whispered fears. As she approached the elevators, her phone buzzed, the notification brightening her otherwise drab thoughts. A message from her older brother, Mark. "How's Mom? I can't come until Friday." She sighed, her heart clenching. Mark had a family of his own to care for, and she had always been the one to shoulder the burden of their mother's care. "Just hanging in there," she typed back quickly, her fingers trembling slightly as she hit send. She looked up, and that's when she noticed him. He was standing near the elevator doors, tall and imposing, dressed in an impeccably tailored navy suit that seemed to fit him like a glove. His dark hair was tousled in a way that suggested he had just come from a high-stakes meeting. The crisp white shirt he wore contrasted sharply with the deep blue fabric of his suit, and there was an air about him, confidence mingled with an undeniable charm. As she walked closer, their eyes met for a brief, electrifying moment. His gaze was piercing, a mix of curiosity and concern that made her pulse quicken. It was only a fleeting glance, but it felt like an eternity. He was strikingly handsome, with features that could have graced the cover of a magazine. Strong jawline, high cheekbones, and a smile that seemed to promise hidden depths. Lily blinked, breaking the spell of their moment. She looked away, suddenly self-conscious, and moved to press the elevator button. But before her fingers could even reach the smooth surface, he stepped forward. "Hold on," he called out, his voice smooth and deep, commanding. He reached out just in time to press the door open button, and the doors slid back open with a soft ding. "Thank you," she murmured, feeling heat creep up her cheeks. She stepped inside the elevator, and as she turned to face him, she noticed the slight crinkle of amusement in his eyes. "Going up?" he asked, stepping in beside her, the doors closing with a soft thud behind them. "Yeah," Lily replied, her voice barely above a whisper. She pressed the button for the 3rd floor where her mother was recovering. "My mom is. She's been in for a while." His expression shifted, a hint of sympathy softening his gaze. "I'm sorry to hear that. Hospitals can be tough." She nodded, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over her. There was something about him that felt authentic, an intrigue that she found refreshing amid the sterile atmosphere of the hospital. "Thanks. It's been rough." He extended his hand, his grip firm yet warm. "I'm Ethan Chase, by the way." "Lily," she replied, meeting his gaze again. Her mind raced, trying to gauge whether this was merely a chance encounter or if there was something deeper brewing beneath the surface. "Nice to meet you, Lily," he said, his smile widening, revealing a dimple that threatened to distract her from the reason she was here. "I'm just visiting a friend. He had a minor procedure yesterday. Hope it goes well," she said, forcing herself to focus. "Thanks," he replied, shifting slightly, his body angled toward hers in a way that felt intimate. "Are you here often?" "Pretty much every day," she admitted, her heart beating in a strange rhythm, a mix of vulnerability and unexpected excitement. "I'm basically a regular at this point." "Wow, that's dedication." His tone was light, but there was a layer of understanding beneath his words. "You must be a good daughter." Lily felt a warmth spreading through her, a flutter in her chest that reminded her of the time she had experienced her first crush. "I try," she said, smiling shyly. "I don't really have a choice." The elevator chimed softly as it arrived at the third floor, and the doors slid open. Lily hesitated for a moment, torn between the urge to step out and continue her routine and the desire to linger in this moment a little longer. Ethan seemed to sense her hesitation. "You know, I can't imagine how hard this must be for you. If you ever need to talk, or if you just need a distraction." She looked up, meeting his gaze. There was an earnestness in his eyes that made her heart race. "You're offering to distract me, in a hospital," she said with a soft laugh, the tension in her shoulders easing. "Why not?" he replied, a glimmer of mischief dancing in his eyes. "I'm sure I can come up with something more entertaining than hospital gossip." "I'm not sure that's allowed," she teased back, feeling a sense of camaraderie building between them, an unspoken connection that felt both thrilling and terrifying. As they stepped into the hallway, the muted sounds of conversation and the beeping of machines surrounded them. Lily felt her smile falter for a moment as she turned toward her mother's room, the reality of her situation looming large. Ethan must have sensed the shift in her mood. "I should let you go," he said gently, his expression softening. "But if you're up for it, I'd love to grab coffee with you sometime. You know, when you're not juggling hospital visits." Lily's heart fluttered, and she felt her cheeks heat once more. Just think about it," he interjected, his voice low and sincere. "I'll be around, and I promise I'm not as intimidating as I look." "I bet you say that to all the girls," she countered playfully, her nerves easing slightly. "Only the ones who look like they could use a break," he replied, his tone lightening. They exchanged numbers before parting ways, and as he walked away, Lily felt a strange mix of exhilaration and trepidation. Her heart was racing, not just from the prospect of something new, but from the weight of everything else. As she entered her mother's room, the familiar sights and sounds enveloped her again. The beeping machines, the soft murmur of her mother's breathing, the muted light filtering through the window. But this time, there was a small spark of hope nestled in her chest, a reminder that even in the midst of struggle, something beautiful could bloom from the cracks of her reality. And as she sat beside her mother's bed, she couldn't help but glance back toward the door, half expecting to see Ethan standing there once more, with a smile that promised brighter days ahead. Lily shifted in her chair, the creaking of the plastic seat echoing in the otherwise sterile quiet of her mother's room. The muted sunlight filtering through the window painted soft patterns on the pale blue walls, but it hardly brightened the shadow that hung over her heart. She reached for her mother's hand, gently squeezing it, the coolness of her mother's skin sending a fresh wave of anxiety coursing through her. "Mom, can you hear me?" she whispered, glancing at the machine monitoring her mother's vital signs, steady yet so fragile. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." The silence that followed felt thick and suffocating, filled with the weight of unspoken fears and hopes. She recalled the warmth of Ethan's smile, the ease of their conversation, and how, for that brief moment, it had felt like the world outside the hospital could still hold joy. She pulled out her phone, heart fluttering as she saw Ethan's name flash across the screen. It had only been a few hours since they met, yet the promise of his invitation lingered in her mind. With a gentle click, she opened the message thread, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. Asterisk, hey, just thinking of you. Hope your friend's recovery is going well. As soon as she pressed send, she felt a flicker of anticipation. She would undoubtedly hear from him again, but what would she say? Would it be just coffee, or would it lead to something more? The thought made her heart race, but at the same time, she felt a wave of guilt settle over her. Her mother's condition was her priority, and everything else felt like a distant fantasy. The quiet beep of a text notification pulled her from her thoughts. Lily glanced at her phone, her breath hitching when she saw Ethan's response. "Thanks, just found out he's doing all right. You doing okay?" She lingered on the text, a smile tugging at her lips. Asterisk hanging in there. "It's tough, but I'm managing." As she typed, she imagined his voice, the warmth and gentleness in it, and felt a lightness begin to bloom despite the heavy weight in the room. "Good to hear. If you need a break, let's grab that coffee soon. Just say the word." A rush of excitement filled her as she read his words, and for a moment she allowed herself to envision that coffee date, echoes of laughter, shared stories, and the possibility of connection beyond the rigid walls of St. Benedict's. But then reality flooded back, puncturing her brief moment of escape. "I'll think about it." "Lily?" A soft voice broke through her thoughts. She looked up to see a woman in scrubs standing at the door, clipboard in hand. It was a nurse she recognized from previous visits, her name tag reading Marie. "Yes, that's me," Lily replied, shifting slightly in her chair, anxiety tightening in her chest. "Just checking in on your mom. I wanted to let you know she's stable and the doctors are happy with her progress." Marie's smile was reassuring, but Lily could see the fatigue etched on her face. "Thank you so much," Lily said, her heart swelling with gratitude. "It's been a long few weeks." "I can only imagine," Marie said, her voice softening. "You're doing a great job being here for her. That means a lot." "I just wish I could do more," Lily admitted, her eyes drifting to her mother's still form. "I feel helpless sometimes." Marie stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on Lily's shoulder. "You're not alone in this. The doctors are doing everything they can. Just make sure to take care of yourself too, all right?" Lily nodded, though she could feel the weight of her responsibilities pressing down on her. "I will, I promise." "Good, I'll let you have some time." With that, Marie turned to leave but paused at the door. "Oh, and don't forget to take breaks. Hospitals can be exhausting." "Thanks, Marie," Lily called back, offering a small wave. Once the nurse disappeared down the hallway, Lily allowed herself to lean back in her chair, releasing a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. As the minutes stretched on, she found herself drifting again, thoughts flickering back to Ethan. The way his eyes had crinkled when he smiled, the warmth of his hand in hers. It was all so different from the cold, clinical reality surrounding her. She cast another glance at her phone, but there were no new messages. She was partially relieved and partially disappointed. Relieved that her feelings weren't being rushed, and disappointed that she couldn't let herself indulge in the thrill of possibility. Time passed slowly, and after what felt like an eternity, she stood up, needing to move. She walked to the window, looking out at the sprawling city beyond the glass. The trees outside were losing their leaves, the vibrant colors turning to a muted brown, and she couldn't help but feel a pang of sorrow for all the things that were slipping away in her life, just like the leaves. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again and she whipped it out eagerly. "Hey Lily, just checking in. How's your mom?" Her heart soared as she typed back, "Stable, thanks. How's your friend?" They exchanged messages back and forth, gradually weaving a thread of connection that felt vibrant and alive amidst the sterile environment of the hospital. Each ping of her phone brightened her mood, and she found herself laughing at Ethan's witty quips about hospital food and the absurdity of patient gowns. Hours slipped by and the late afternoon sun started its descent, casting a warm glow in the room. As the light waned, so did Lily's energy. She leaned back in her chair, her eyelids heavy, when the door creaked open, and in walked a familiar figure, Ethan. "Surprise," he said with a grin, eyes twinkling like stars against the dimming room. "What are you doing here?" Lily asked, her voice tinged with disbelief, though her heart leaped at his presence. "I was visiting my friend, but I thought I'd come see how you and your mom were doing." He hesitated, his gaze shifting to the bed before returning to her. "If that's okay, of course." "Of course it's more than okay," she replied, motioning toward a chair. "I'm glad you came." As he settled into the chair beside her, the air seemed to thrum with an unspoken tension. It was strange how easily they fell into conversation, the outside world quietly fading into the background. They talked about everything and nothing. His work in finance, her dreams of writing, the absurdities of life that knotted them together in laughter, each moment weaving a little tighter. "Is it weird that I find hospitals fascinating?" Ethan said, his voice low as if sharing a secret. "Fascinating?" Lily raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "In what way?" "The resilience of people. You see the worst of humanity and the best. It's like every day is a reminder of how fragile life is, and yet how beautiful it can be." He paused, his expression turning serious. "And you? Seeing you here every day, fighting for your mom, it's inspiring." Lily felt the heat rise to her cheeks. I have to be here for her. It's what we do for family, right?" "Right," he agreed, his gaze steady. "But it takes strength. I can't help but admire that." She looked away, suddenly feeling vulnerable under the weight of his words. "Sometimes I don't feel strong. I just feel like I'm holding on by a thread." "I think holding on is sometimes the strongest thing we can do," he said softly, his voice wrapping around her like a warm blanket. "And I'm here for you, even if it's just to share a cup of coffee and some laughter." Lily met his eyes and something unspoken passed between them, a shared understanding that transcended their circumstances. The moment stretched, lingering like a sweet melody, and in that space, everything outside the hospital walls faded away. "Thank you for saying that," Lily replied, sincerity threading through her voice. "It means more than you know." As she spoke, the shadows of doubt began to lift, and for the first time in weeks, she felt a glimmer of hope. She hadn't realized how much she longed for connection until this moment, until Ethan had walked into her life like a breath of fresh air, stirring up the stagnant corners of her heart. "Let's make a pact," he said suddenly, breaking the silence. "When your mom gets better, we'll go on an adventure, just you and me." "An adventure," she echoed, her heart racing at the thought. "Like what?" "Anything. A road trip, hiking a mountain, or even just trying out the weirdest restaurants in town. I'm open to suggestions." A smile broke across her face at the thought of escaping the confines of her current reality, of being free and alive. "I like the sound of that. As soon as my mom is better, we'll plan something." "Deal," Ethan said, extending his hand toward her. She took it, their fingers intertwining, and in that moment she felt something shift, something bright, and the warmth of the late afternoon sun streamed through the hospital window, casting a golden hue across the room, illuminating the small space where Lily sat beside her mother. The comforting presence of Ethan, now seated beside her, felt like a balm against the harsh reality surrounding them. They had just exchanged a promise, one that floated like a delicate thread between them, pulling them closer, even amidst the shadows of uncertainty. "Adventure sounds great," Lily said, her heart swelling with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "But what if something goes wrong? What if she doesn't get better?" The words slipped out before she could catch them, laden with the weight of her fears. Ethan looked at her, his expression softening. Then we'll adapt. Life has a way of throwing curveballs, but that doesn't mean we can't find moments of joy along the way. You've already proven that being here for your mom." Lily bit her lip, feeling the knot in her stomach tighten. "I just don't know what I'll do if she doesn't make it." The vulnerability in her voice surprised even her. She hadn't intended to share this fear, but there was something about Ethan, a sense of genuine understanding and kindness, that made her feel safe. He leaned forward, his gaze steady. "You're not alone in this, Lily. You have people who care about you. And I know it might feel impossible right now, but it's okay to hope." Lily nodded, swallowing hard. Hope feels like a double-edged sword sometimes. It's easier to brace for the worst than to risk being disappointed. "True," he replied, his expression serious. "But hope can also be a powerful motivator. It's what drives us to keep moving forward, even when the path ahead seems dark." He paused, glancing at her mother sleeping peacefully, the machines softly beeping beside her. "That woman raised a strong daughter. I can see that in you." His words wrapped around Lily, offering a flicker of warmth in the chill of her fears. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Thank you for saying that," she murmured. "I don't always feel strong." Strength isn't about never feeling weak. It's about acknowledging those feelings and still choosing to fight. There was a sincerity in his voice that made her heart race. "And every time you're here, fighting for her, that's strength." Lily glanced at Ethan, her heart swelling with gratitude. "You're really something, you know. Not many people would take the time to check in on someone they just met." "There's just something about you," he said, a teasing lilt in his voice that made her pulse quicken. "And I'm not just talking about your tragic circumstances." She chuckled softly, the sound breaking some of the heaviness in the room. "Oh, really? And what exactly do you find intriguing?" "Everything," he replied, his tone playful. "Your determination, your compassion, even your skepticism about life. It's refreshing." "Refreshing, huh? I'll have to remember that." She grinned, feeling the warmth of their banter lifting the shadows. "So, what other qualities do you find interesting?" "My ability to make awkward small talk." Ethan laughed, and the sound echoed beautifully in the sterile room. "I think that's my favorite quality of all. You're like an enigma, Lily. I want to know more." The chemistry between them crackled in the air, an electrifying tension that made her heart race. Lily felt the natural ease of their conversation, the way he drew her out of her shell, and realized she wanted to explore this connection further. She leaned closer, instinctively drawn to him. "All right, Mr. Chase, tell me more about yourself. What makes you tick?" He raised an eyebrow, a teasing glint in his eyes. "You're not afraid to turn the tables, are you?" "Not when it comes to a handsome millionaire," she replied, her voice laced with playful challenge. "I've always been curious about what it's like to be wealthy." Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. "You'd be surprised. It's not all champagne and caviar. There's a lot of pressure to maintain appearances and manage expectations. People often assume that wealth equates to happiness." "Is that what it's like for you?" Lily asked, her curiosity piqued. "Do you feel pressure?" He paused, his expression shifting to something more contemplative. "Sometimes. I've worked hard to build my business, but it can be all-consuming. It's easy to lose sight of what really matters when you're chasing success. The irony is that I often envy the simplicity of life outside the boardroom. Like sitting in a hospital room talking to a stranger." She teased, nudging him gently. "How romantic." He laughed, a rich sound that filled the room. "Maybe not romantic in the traditional sense, but there's something beautiful about connecting with someone on a deeper level, even in unexpected places." Lily felt her heart flutter at his words, the tension shifting in the air as she met his gaze. "Do you think we're connecting then?" "I do." Ethan's voice dropped to a softer tone, his eyes locked onto hers, and for a moment it felt as if they were the only two people in the world. You're more than just a beautiful face in a hospital. You have this light about you." She blinked, her breath hitching in her throat. "You really think so?" "I know so." He leaned closer, the warmth radiating from him, enveloping her like a comforting embrace. "And I'd like to get to know you better, outside of this place." Her heart raced at the implication. The idea of stepping outside the confines of her current life, of exploring something new with someone like him, sent waves of exhilaration through her. "I'd like that too," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But just as quickly, a flicker of uncertainty crept in. "But I don't want to drag you into my chaos. My mom is. She's my priority right now." "I understand," Ethan said, a hint of understanding flickering in his eyes. "But it doesn't mean you can't have a life outside of that. You need to take care of yourself too." Lily's heart tightened at his words. "It's hard to think about anything else when she's like this. What if I get distracted? What if I lose focus?" Distraction isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can be a form of self-care, a way to recharge, he insisted gently. "Trust me, finding balance is crucial. You deserve to find joy even in the smallest moments." As he spoke, she could feel the sincerity in his words, a lifeline thrown into her turbulent sea of emotions. "You really believe that, don't you?" she asked, her voice soft and filled with curiosity. "Absolutely." He smiled softly, and for the first time, she noticed the kindness that danced behind his eyes. Life is too short to be consumed by sadness, even when it feels overwhelming. Moments of light can help illuminate the darkest times. Lily felt her heart swell with hope. Perhaps it was possible to navigate the difficult waters of her life while still allowing room for connection and joy. "You're right," she said slowly, the realization settling in her chest. "Maybe I can find a way to do both." "Exactly. And I'd be honored to be a part of that journey, however you choose to take it," he replied, his voice laced with sincerity. As they sat together, the connection between them deepened, each word laced with understanding and warmth. The hospital room, once a prison of worry and despair, transformed into a space of hope and possibility. And for the first time in weeks, Lily allowed herself to envision a future that included more than just the weight of responsibility, a future that held the promise of adventure and joy, one she could share with Ethan. "All right, let's make a deal," she said, her voice lightening. "When my mom gets better, we grab that coffee, and I'll let you distract me for a while." "It's a date," he replied, his smile bright and infectious. "I promise to make it worth your while." With that, the tension in the room shifted again, replaced by an undercurrent of excitement and hope. As they continued to talk, Lily felt a warmth blossoming in her heart, a reminder that even amidst the chaos, life could still hold moments of beauty, connection, and light. The evening air had begun to cool as dusk settled over the city, the hospital's fluorescent lights casting a sterile glow against the backdrop of deepening twilight. Inside her mother's room, the hum of medical machinery provided a steady soundtrack to Lily's thoughts. But now, as she sat beside her mother, the anxiety that had gripped her chest for weeks began to ease, replaced by the warmth of Ethan's presence. Just a few moments ago, they had shared laughter and stories, their connection seemingly growing with each word exchanged. Right now, they were two souls navigating a turbulent sea, finding refuge in each other's eyes. For the first time in what felt like forever, Lily felt a spark of life within her, a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, joy could coexist alongside the aching worry that had become her constant companion. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan's voice broke through her reverie, rich with curiosity. He leaned back in his chair, studying her with a gaze that felt both intimate and inviting. "Anything," she replied, a small smile playing at the corners of her lips. She appreciated his willingness to delve deeper, to explore the layers of her thoughts. "What do you dream of doing?" beyond all of this. He gestured subtly around the hospital room, his expression sincere. I mean, when you have the time to breathe again. Lily looked away, her heart fluttering at the question. I used to want to be a writer, she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. I loved creating stories, weaving together characters and worlds that felt so real. But I haven't had the time or energy to focus on that since my mom got sick. Why not now? Ethan pressed gently, his tone encouraging. Just because life has thrown you a curveball doesn't mean your dreams have to be put on hold. You have a voice, Lily. You should use it. His words struck a chord, igniting a longing she had pushed down for too long. I don't know if I'm good enough, she murmured, the familiar self-doubt creeping in. What if no one wants to read my stories? Who cares? Ethan's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. Writing is about expression, not validation. It's about pouring your heart onto the page. You shouldn't measure your worth by the opinions of others. You should write for you. Lily blinked, the weight of his encouragement settling into her chest. I've thought about it a lot, especially during these long nights at the hospital. There's so much swirling around in my head. I just never seem to find the time to get it down. I can help with that, he said, his voice filled with sincerity. I'll even bring you coffee for inspiration. We can brainstorm ideas together. You can use me as a sounding board. Her laughter rang out, bright and infectious. You'll be my coffee muse. Absolutely, he replied, leaning forward with a playful grin. I charge a very reasonable rate, just your company and a promise to write something spectacular. Deal, she said, feeling an unfamiliar lightness settle in her chest. The thought of sharing her dreams with Ethan, of exploring her creativity in his presence, filled her with a rush of excitement. See, it's not so scary, is it? Ethan continued, his gaze steady and encouraging. You have so much potential, and life is too short to let it slip by without chasing what you love. Lily felt her heart swell with gratitude, the walls she had built around herself beginning to crack. Thank you for believing in me, even when I don't believe in myself. I'm just reflecting what I see, he said softly. His eyes locked onto hers, and for a heartbeat, the world outside faded away. You have an incredible spirit, and I can't help but be drawn to it. The air between them shifted, thick with unsaid words and electric tension. Lily felt her breath catch as Ethan leaned closer, the space between them narrowing. She could feel the warmth radiating from him, a beacon of comfort and possibility that made her heart race. What about you? She asked suddenly, needing to break the spell that had woven around them. What's your dream beyond the boardroom? Ethan leaned back slightly, his expression thoughtful. You know, I used to want to be a musician, he confessed, a hint of vulnerability threading through his voice. I played guitar for years, wrote songs that I thought were pretty good, but I let the pressure of my family's expectations steer me away from it. I guess I thought pursuing music wasn't practical. Why did you stop? She asked softly, her heart aching for the boy who had let go of his passion. Life happened, I suppose, he replied, a shadow crossing his features. But every now and then I pick up the guitar and play. It's a reminder of who I was before the suits and the meetings took over. I miss feeling that kind of freedom. Maybe we can help each other then, Lily suggested, her mind racing with possibilities. You can bring your guitar next time and I'll write lyrics for you. A romantic duo born in a hospital. Now that sounds like an adventure, he said, his tone light but his gaze serious, as if he recognized the weight behind their shared dreams. The two punctured the heaviness of the moment with laughter, but the air remained charged with unspoken emotions. As they settled back into the comfort of conversation, Lily found herself stealing glances at Ethan, captivated by the way he animatedly spoke, the way his eyes lit up when he shared a story. There was something magnetic about him, a pull that stirred desires she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. "Hey, do you want to step outside for a minute?" Ethan asked suddenly, breaking into her thoughts. "I know it's a hospital, but the courtyard has some beautiful trees, and I think you could use a change of scenery." The thought of stepping away from the sterile environment was tempting, and she hesitated only a moment before nodding. "Yeah, I'd love that." As they made their way down the brightly lit corridors, Ethan's presence felt like a warm embrace, a stark contrast to the coldness that often engulfed the hospital. They stepped outside into the crisp evening air, and Lily took a deep breath as the coolness brushed against her skin. The courtyard was adorned with old oak trees, their branches heavy with leaves, swaying gently in the breeze. "Look at that," Ethan said, gesturing toward a cluster of vibrant autumn leaves. "Isn't it beautiful?" "It is," Lily agreed, her heart swelling. "It's nice to escape even just for a moment." Ethan turned to her, his expression earnest. "Life has a funny way of reminding us of the beauty amidst chaos, doesn't it?" "It really does," she replied, meeting his gaze. "I've lost sight of that recently." "Let's make sure that doesn't happen again," he said, stepping closer, their shoulders brushing. "You deserve to find joy even in the darkest times." Suddenly, the space between them felt charged. Lily's heart raced as she looked into his eyes, those deep pools of understanding, and she felt the urge to close the distance even further. "Ethan," she began, her voice wavering slightly. "Thank you for being here. You've been a light in a really dark time." "It's easy to want to be around someone as remarkable as you," he replied, his gaze locked onto hers. "You're resilient, Lily, and I want you to know that you're not alone in this." Lily felt a rush of emotion flood her chest. "You mean a lot to me, you know. You've brought a sense of hope back into my life, and I can't thank you enough." "I'm just getting started," he said, his voice low and warm. "But I'm here for the long haul, okay?" "Okay," she whispered, feeling overwhelmed by the sincerity in his words. They lingered in the moment, the world around them fading, and all that existed was the connection growing between them. As they stood together, the cool breeze swirled around them, mirroring the whirlwind of feelings inside her. Lily's pulse quickened, the pull between them undeniable. She could feel the moment shifting, the air thick with unspoken words and possibilities yet to be explored. "Would it be too forward if I asked to hug you?" Ethan asked suddenly, his voice a touch hesitant, but his eyes remained steady, filled with warmth. Lily's heart soared at the question, a soft thrill shivering down her spine. "I think I'd like that very much." Without hesitation, Ethan closed the distance between them, pulling her into an embrace that felt both safe and electrifying. The warmth of his body enveloped her, and she breathed in the comforting scent of his cologne, a mixture of cedar and spice. In that moment, the chaos of the hospital faded away, leaving only the two of them, wrapped in each other's presence. As she melted into his embrace, Lily felt a rush of emotions wash over her. Hope, connection, and something deeper that she had long thought lost. In that moment, she realized that she hadn't just found a fleeting distraction in Ethan. She had discovered a kindred spirit who ignited the flicker of her dreams and reminded her of the beauty life could hold, even amidst its storms.